Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome. This is your friend and your host, Karan Detani, and welcome to the Karan Detani Show. And this is Freedom from Past. Our guest speaker for today is Rob Cook. So, without any further ado, let's welcome our guest speaker and start this show. Hi, Rob. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So, Rob, this topic, freedom from past. I
Yeah.
see so many people suffering from PTSD, past trauma, having the memories from the past haunting them, bothering them. And I'm just one of them. I also used to have many thoughts from past. So how can one find freedom from the past? How to get rid of that trauma?
Yeah, I a bunch of things come to mind when you say it. But I'll go through what I found to be most helpful. And so for me, I was an inner city kid that grew up in a low income area. A lot of gang violence, a lot of racial despair, things like that was kind of like the nature of my environment. And I thought it was par for the course, meaning I thought everybody lived like that. I thought, the lack that was within the neighborhoods and the community, that everybody had that lack, and that, there's no need to complain because we're all going through this. And I think running from that, I end up trying to escape that. And I joined the US military with a totally different experience. It was almost like a full 180. But the problem was it was hard to adjust. So my first 2 to 3 years of the military, I got in a lot of trouble and I just couldn't function. And for the longest, I believed it was because I was a kid from the inner city and I was bad or I was broken. I thought that was why, but it wasn't till later that I realized, no, that was what we mean when we say PTSD, meaning there was some traumatic stressors that came from my past, seeing people die, being in shootouts as a gang member, seeing pregnant females inject the substances that's being sold, 3 feet outside of my home into their bodies. Yeah, that kind of played with the kid. And so I took a set of behaviors that protected me in this environment and may have been warranted or needed, and I tried to apply them in this environment. And it just wasn't what was true in there. And so it caused a disturbance. It caused friction, you know. Um, but again, I didn't know that then. This is hindsight looking back. Fast forward 20 years of deployments, military experience, seeing again violence, seeing death, things like that. I had a hard time transitioning to becoming a civilian. Again, I was taking a set of behaviors of being highly intense, being on guard for the nature of my job, and trying to apply it in my life when I was now just a fitness trainer at a luxury gym. I wasn't I wasn't responsible for running motorcades anymore. I wasn't responsible for doing protection missions, teaching how convoys are to protect nuclear weapons. Yeah, that was my job, but it wasn't what I was doing now. And Katan, long story short, but that's when I started realizing, oh, I'm stuck in my past. I haven't came to 20, I'll just say what the date is. Now, I haven't came to 2023 because I'm stuck in the years of pre-18. And then if I can make it out of pre-18 memories, I get stuck in the 20 years of military service experience. And then it was like, how do I get to now? Like, how do I get past those? And that's how the work for me took on Life for Trauma. And there's a few things that I had that pushed me through each one of those. One was I had a safe space. Now, when I was getting in trouble as a kid, I would get suspended from school. I would, get sent to my grandmother's house. My father's mom never worked. She was a stay-at-home mom because she had so many, my father had 6 siblings. So she was the person who I would get sent home to because my maternal mother worked and my mother worked. And, when I got to my grandmother's house being in trouble, she would just hug me. She was just telling me, baby, you'll figure it out. You're going to be okay. And then she would tell me things that would help, like try to guide me. And believe it or not, when I started getting in the trouble in the military, those were the only little pieces of hope that I had to hold on to. She had passed at that moment. So it was just a memory of her saying, I would figure it out. It would be okay. Same thing happened in the military. I had a senior leader that saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, just like my grandmother did, sit me down and help give me a safe space and point to something new. And I saw what they were pointing to, and I got past the next 20 years. Oddly enough, after the exchange with him, I would go on to never get, to not be, how do I say it? After that experience with him, basically, I was number one or in the top 5 of every unit I went to after that. Like, there was no more bad behavior. I was an asset to every unit I went to after he did that for me. And man, it happened one more time. And that was when my mentor, Michael Neal, did it in this form. When he sat me down in an intensive and he just loved me. He gave me a safe space and he pointed to something fresh and new. I had an insight and I began to live my life in that way as such. And so those are the 3 things that I mainly try to talk about or point to when I say what a person needs to move past trauma. It's going to be a safe space. It's going to be some unconditional love. And then somebody to help point you to that if you can't already see it within yourself.
Beautiful. Unconditional love. So what was that with Michael Neal that just changed your life?
He wasn't afraid of the stories. He knew I was okay, but I didn't. It was a weirdness to how calm he was about all of the things that I'm telling him. Because as I say them, I can feel my pressure rising. And it's almost, I could feel myself drowning from all of the stories and the narratives that I'm telling him, but he seems to somehow not be in the water with me. And that was strange. It caught my attention because I've sat across from therapists and I've sat across from people who are workers or health workers, and they look at me as if, oh no, you're really broken. Like, we don't know what the hell to do with you. And it's like, well, why would I come back here for help then? Why would I? But Michael, he didn't buy that. He didn't buy it at all, man. But he didn't do it in a way that was offensive. He did it in a loving way where I could see.
Okay, cool. So, okay, I'll get back to you, but before that, Heather, what's the question?
My question is, I'm sure that when you're in a really dark place and then someone comes in with unconditional love, how did you come to believe that person really did love you? And because I could see a lot of people, well, look, I worked with troubled kids, and a lot of it, what they heard was, you're bad, your behavior's bad, you're bad, you'll never be anything. And if you hear that for 18 to 20 years, and someone comes in and says, no, you're okay just the way you are, how do you come to, how does the person who has never felt unconditional love come to accept it? Can you talk a little bit about that? Maybe how you convinced them, or how you were convinced yourself that it was okay?
It was the feeling of it.
Okay.
It was, although the moments were years and some even decades in between, the moment I felt like I felt as a kid with my grandmother, I knew I was like, that's weird. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm grown, you know.
Yeah.
But then it happened again. That feeling was the same. But
Okay.
what you're talking about is very true. And here's how I know so well that what I'm saying works to what your very question is. I don't know if you're into the Bible or read the Bible or anything like that, but there's a scripture in the Bible that says faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love, right? I've always loved that scripture as a little kid growing up, but I didn't believe it. So when I tattooed it on my arm, I put faith, hope, and loyalty because I didn't think love was real. I didn't think it exists.
Yeah.
I was like, that's BS. That's the Smurfs on TV, the Cosby Show on TV. That's entertainment. That's not real life. So here in my mind, it made more sense to change the scripture of the Bible than to believe that love really existed.
I'm only
Until I
laughing because I
didn't.
understand. I completely understand what you're saying.
Oh, I laugh now because I got a tattoo on my arm of some shit that's not true. Like now, I laugh too, you know. But I won't change it. I won't change it because it's an immediate reminder that I don't always have to know for it to be true. Because I did know then. I did know, but it was still true. And so that's how I know just doing it for the kid or the youth, even if you don't see that flower so-called spread through, even if you don't, it works. It's softening. It's a reference point. It's a metric. It matters. I know it does.
Yeah. That's perfect. Thank you.
Great. So, Rob, I see like lots of people, they take pills to overcome the trauma or to just feel relieved from the trauma. So, what is the role of pills and medicines, and how do they help people?
Well, there's two ways. I'll answer. One is there are some that take pills. There are some that take alcohol. There's some that take erratic behaviors. There's some that take on, and there's some that take to the notions or behaviors that now they need to become invisible in the world. There are some who choose to just shut their voice down. And the reason I highlight all that is because everyone is always going to do something different to relieve themselves of their trauma. And so I personally don't like attempting to highlight one way as significantly worse than the other when we're all doing the same thing at that moment, which is make the best decision we can at trying to relieve ourselves from the suffering we're currently facing. I have been blessed enough to have been given a wide variety and range of things I could choose to get me out of that stress, but everybody hasn't. And so what I would say to it is, yes, they do. But all they are attempting to do is what anyone else would be attempting to do, stop the suffering. All right. And just like I say, you know, a entrepreneur who decides that they're going to work 19 to 20 hours a day to get over their trauma. Great. But working 19 to 20 hours a day will have adverse effects on your family, on your relationships, on your fatigueness. So it too, in excess, could be problematic. So there are people, yes, who substance misuse. And the reason I say misuse the substances because they are designed to slow down your thought pattern and relieve you from pain. That's what they were designed for. But the misuse of them is that you don't think it's within your own being to stop that pain from happening. That's the hook. So it's yes, they do. But my work is not so much in pointing them out as being good or bad. It's saying, hey, you've hooked to things that aren't true. You do get the relief because that part is afforded to you and true. The problem is you think it comes from that and it's actually coming from you. It's that your system is designed to work this way.
Okay. But like for many people, it's like getting panic attacks. Okay. Feeling depressed and feeling so low about themselves, like something happened in the past. Let's say some relationship, somebody who was toxic, abusive, mean, who really hurt the person. So although they are not with that person anymore, but those memories, when they come, they just haunt people, right? They are quite scary. Like I've seen many people going through panic attacks, depression, stress. So what can they do? How can they just overcome this trauma?
It's going to sound very trivial, and I apologize. It's probably going to sound even very simple. But in no way is the simplicity of it an indictment or an indication that what someone isn't going through is serious to them. But all they have to do is remember. Here's what I mean. If me and you and everybody, Dominique, Katrina, Caroline, all us, we decide we're going to go to a scary movie. We all pick each other up. We all meet at the movie theater. We all grab popcorn, butter, salt, whatever your thing is before you go into the movie theater, right? And we get into the movie theater, we watch it. In some part of the movie, about 3 or 4 of us gets real scared. 2 of us actually, popcorn, water, juice falls, everything. And 1 of us leaves out the theater altogether. We all handled the fear differently. But there was one thing we also all did together, and we forgot the truth. What I mean is that we forgot that it was a movie. We forgot that no actors were actually harmed while filming it. We forgot that we actually met up and bought a ticket to go in and watch that. Because if we can remember all that, what's in front of us can't be as scary. So when a person is going through the memories again and again and again, yes, it's just like being in the theater, being scared by a movie. But once you remember you're in a theater, once you remember it's a movie, once you remember the truth of who you are, what's in front of you doesn't seem as scary. When you know, oh my God, wait, the fact that I am alive means that I'm connected to the universal creative power source of life. So that means I got a shot. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm Hall of Faming this thing, but it means I at least got a shot. Well, I believe human beings are resilient enough where all they need is a shot. So that's how I would explain it. It's just remembering the truth of who they are, remembering it's a memory, remembering that if trauma was a death sentence, you would have died when it happened. So the mere fact that you did not die when it happens means that somehow, some way, your system figured out a way to get you through the situation so that you can be present now. You may not even be aware of what it did it, how it did it, but somehow, some way it got you through that moment to now, because we're calling it a memory. The mere fact we call it a memory means it's in the past. So you are here and it's in the past. How did you get here? That's what we start looking at. Oh, wait. Yeah, it was a hard road, but I did make it here. Wait, you're right. It was a shitty experience, but I made it here. You know, one thing that I've ever done in the middle of something that was extremely dangerous for my life? Wonder about how hard it is. Meaning whenever bombs were being shot across our head, I had no time to wonder, why am I feeling this way? What would be the effects of this? This is going to be hard to overcome. I'm never going to get past this. I'm too busy trying to do what I need to do for the bombs to get over my head. The indirect fire shots and firefights. I'm never thinking, oh my God, I could die right now. Oh my God, if I don't get this, this is going to stop my, like, I'm never thinking any of that. And here's something that I noticed. The only time that a person could stop and scare themselves with a memory is when they're safe already. Because if they weren't safe already, their mind and body wouldn't stop what it would be doing to get them out of danger. It's the fact that you sit down and your body no longer has to protect you anymore that allows the thoughts to come to wonder for how horrific the event was. But you can't do that unless you're already technically safe, because the system doesn't work like that. It shuts down everything to focus on protecting you because it's built for survival. So you have to be safe to even think you're not safe, is what I'm saying. Because if you're not safe, you would just be unsafe and do what would be necessary.
Then, well, that makes sense. But on a logical,
Thank you.
yeah, on a logical level, you could tell people that,
You can tell them, yeah.
that it's just memories, right? It's sore. But I've tried that.
I don't tell them that though.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't. Because when it was told to me, I was like, kiss my ass. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. So I am, it didn't feel good. Like Heather said, if I think I'm crap, don't come tell me I'm the best. Get out my face with that, bro. I ain't got time for the gas. You know, like I ain't got time for it, because I really believe this to be true. So that's not how I show it to people. I walk them first back to, I first have to find out if they have this reference point I'm trying to point to. So before I'll talk through any conversation you want to have about trauma, but I first need to know, okay, moving past this trauma is going to give you a feeling you think you're going to have. And most people say, yes, I would need to feel. I said, have you ever felt that before first? Like before we start around the story? Yes. Okay, tell me when. So once I get to a story, that story, which is a memory also, is going to make them feel a certain way. I already know this when I sit down because they're viewing life from the outside in. So to them, good memory is going to give good feeling. Bad memory is going to give bad feeling. But they have no idea that they are in control of that at the moment we sit down. So I let it do the work for itself. Tell me about that time. They give me the story of when they felt safe and when they felt nurtured or when they felt protected. It's small as it may be. And there's some drawing out of it, true, because it runs through the filter that the world is not safe. So I can't really tell you this story and freedom, because that conflicts my narrative that this is not a safe place. So I tell it to you in spurts, but that's where the listening comes in, where I'm listening to continue that story till they get to a feeling where they feel okay. And then we acknowledge it. How do you feel right? Well, right now I feel good. Okay. Now tell me a little bit about your trauma. And the moment I see that down and feeling, stop right there. How are you feeling now? Well, I'm feeling bad because it's much. Okay, but just help me understand. You were just feeling good a moment ago. And the only thing that's changed is the stories we're saying. We both in the Zoom box right now. We're both walking down the lake or whatever it is. Can you see kind of how sometimes the stories that we're saying is what's driving how we feel? And they go, I can see that. That's it. So more and more as you see that, then you'll see I don't have to be as scared. Still the scary movie. I just don't have to be as scared. You know, the scary movies that scared me as a kid, they're comical to me now. I'm like, how did I even get scared from that? Like, that ain't scary. You look goofy now. But it was terrifying when I saw it as a kid, until I saw the reference points over and over and over and over again. Then it was like, oh, it's a no-brainer. That's no longer scary. I think trying to force someone to let go of their memory is because I would have something attached on them needing to so-called hurry up and get past it. Their journey is their journey. Their journey is their journey. I know it doesn't have to be a suffer filled. Yeah, and sometimes that hurts my feelings even more to see people suffering. But I know more than anything, I don't get to control their journey. I know at the bottom of it, they're okay. And so I'm just going to point and guide them as best that I can. But I'm not trying to tell them, oh, that's just your thoughts. Oh, that's just a memory. You got to move past this. It's been this many years now. You shouldn't think this way anymore. Nah, man, that's not even my vocab. Just because I would have cussed you clean out had you said it to me. Like, because you don't know my life. You don't know my story, as I would say. You don't know where I came from. That was actually what I definitely used to say. You don't know what I've been through, you know? But everybody's been through something. Everybody's got their own stuff. So I would more so try to get them to feel it than I would be about telling them that it was there.
Great. Great. And what is the role of the principles in your life or in your work? I mean, do you explain the principles to people, or do you just talk in
After
your
I
own
have
language?
after I have a clear point, they'll understand what I'm talking about. They would already have had to feel me love them. They would have to feel safe. And once I know they feel that way in my presence, then I'll have the conversation. Because I know in heightened, tense areas, people don't hear. So I wouldn't even try to have the conversation when they're in a heightened or tense area, when we're trying to get to know each other. If we're trying to get to know each other, I'm just trying to get to know you. And then once we get to know each other and I know your ears are open in a sense where you can at least hear half of it, I'll explain how I operate, how it looks to me, what it looks like to me, and how it could possibly help them. But that doesn't come until after they know I feel, I don't know for a fact, but since I get a feeling that they're receptive and open. And I have a very easy way of sharing the principle, which is just saying all I'm about to tell you probably won't make no sense. So let's not even go through it. We're going to feel our way through it, you know? But I do explain it. I draw a little, I can do the drawing for here, but I mean, if you want, but yeah, I do a little drawing and it's the way I like explaining it. So I'll go mind. Again, even if we break them down like this, I'll say, you know, this is just how I would say it. So mind would be here. It's just this energy of life that's there. I don't know if everybody can see that. It's just there, right? And then you have us here. So from mind flows into every human being the power of thought, right? Because all of your ideas come from nowhere, right? And they go, oh yeah. I don't be thinking of this half the time, this and that. I make a clear distinction some. So we get the power of thought down packed, right? And then I tell them what I call the content of your thinking, right? And the content of your thinking is much different than the power of thought. The power of thought is just how things are created. The content of your thinking is how you're using the power that you create to make your reality. So because I've had traumatic experiences, I now have slowed down some of the bandwidth because I shoot it through the prism of traumatic experience. And so it doesn't fully get to go. Now, if I could drop the so-called blockage of traumatic experience, more of that bandwidth begins to flow. You know, we were taught, pretty much everybody walks around trying to do the Olympic ring thing of finding the perfect little zone. You see that? Oh, if I could just balance all of this and balance all of that, I could find that little source of power in the middle of it all. That's crazy, because it's actually more of a, bandwidth thing than it is a balance everything out thing. Meaning you're not one station on the radio channel, you're FM radio. And if you tune in to certain channels, you'll get hip hop music, you'll get country music, you'll get rock and roll. But the whole radio system works on FM radio or satellite radio or AM radio. That's the power of thought and the connection. You get to choose how to dial it in for what you want to experience. Hip hop, country, whatever. And what makes you conscious of that is how you feel. You're going to choose which station you like to listen to based on how you feel. You only are aware of how you feel because it's the feeling. So that's how I explain mind, thought, consciousness to people. Right? Just give them a description of it they can see, but they'll have a reference point for it. Having one, we make up something or create something within our presence at the beginning. We get to know each other. We've shared a moment where it kind of makes sense what I'm saying in the feel. May not intellectually, but it will in a feeling. I'm okay with them saying, I get what you're saying, I just don't know how to explain it. Cool. I'm okay then, because you'll move by operation still. It'll still be part of the way you behave. You don't have to understand it. You know, I can ask people now, how does the respiratory system actually takes carbon dioxide and split it and which to go there? And they can't tell me, but you ain't got no problem with breathing. You cool with just still continuing to breathe. So we don't have to understand it for it to work. Just got to know it's working. Sometimes we ain't got to do that. I hope that answered. I think I went ranting, but I hope that answered your question.
That's okay. Great. So I'll open up for audience participation. If anybody has any questions, just raise your hand. Okay, Heather.
Okay. How would you help somebody? You know, we were talking about panic attacks and kind of different symptoms of PTSD. I know a particularly hard one to get over is the exaggerated startle response. Like I could be sitting here writing and someone could come into the room and shut the door and I could go, oh my gosh. And I'll have that one moment of dread and panic. And it almost happens faster than I can think. So how, you know, when something becomes so, a way of protecting yourself becomes so ingrained in your body, how do you convince yourself that you're really safe? I mean, it passes within in an instant almost, and then you're like, oh, okay, I'm okay. But just a second ago, you were terrified for just that 1 second. And I'm wondering if you had any ideas about how to help tone that down.
I hope I do not, because it sounds exactly how it's supposed to work. You're just thinking it's wrong.
Okay.
So, paranoia is if there has not been an experience in which you've had to be concerned about your life.
Right.
But you are concerned about your life. If you have faced a traumatic experience before, and a traumatic experience, as I define it, is a sense in which you felt loss of life was imminent, or danger or sense of security in life was damaged, and it caused you to freeze.
Right.
Okay. If you've experienced that, then you're going to be sensitive to that feeling for the rest of your life, possibly because of how pivotal of a moment it was. What I heard in what you said, which is so magical to me, is I did the same. The problem was I wasn't a split 1 second, as you explained. I was a hold it for a couple months before I come out of it. So if all 1 second you got to do, you've actually yourself already unhitched the disorder. There is no disorder to paying attention if something startles you. And if it only takes a second for it to pass, that means your system has already recognized we're back safe. It's okay to look when a loud noise happens, because still things are happening in the world. I mean, there are people who go to see Batman, so I'm pretty sure when they heard the first gunshot, didn't think it was actually happening in the theater. I'm pretty sure the high school kids or the college kids who face these, horrific incidents they face, hear a noise and go, is it that? Wait a minute, what? Nah, it can't be. But no, if you look over your shoulder, which I still do, but if I look over my shoulder and see, oh, okay, a box fell, and I could come back to right now, that's how the system works. Your fire alarm just beeps when it smells smoke. It doesn't say there's a fire. It just says hey, it's a possibility. It's a possibility. So pay attention. So that trigger, that initial response, it's not working against you. It's not something to get rid of. It's saying, hey there, pay attention, baby. Just so we know we're okay. And once you know you're okay, we keep it moving. That's how it's designed to do it. We can work with it to protect ourselves.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Great. Okay, anybody else with any question?
Was that a yes, Dominique, or I just saw the hand kind of, I think I do. I don't know. Maybe I do. I couldn't tell when the hand went cross which it was.
Okay, I guess Katrina has a question.
Katrina?
It was just that when you asked that question, Heather, I saw it as more than just the startled response. The sort of less panicked behaviors that kept me safe. The people pleasing type behaviors is the same thing, because I keep having how are these going to stop? But of course, the more settled I get, it's not my job to stop them. They're as you said, Rob, like with the startle response, it's there for a reason. Those behaviors are there for a reason. And the safer I feel, there's no reason. So that was really helpful. So thank you, Heather, and thank you, Rob.
I like how you
And thank you,
explained
Karen.
that too.
The trigger on a gun doesn't shoot unless it's pulled.
Mhm.
Exactly. You could point a gun and not pull the trigger because there's no threat. But we point the gun and pull the trigger, threat or not. No, you don't have to pull the trigger. You just have to be aware of, oh, I'm not in danger right now. Put it back in the holster.
All right, anybody else with any question?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay. When I think about the trauma, the moment it happened, it's not only I know it's thought, but it keeps scaring the hell out of me. I know it's only in my mind. I know it's not real, but my body freezes. I can't breathe. The thing I have is I start smelling the smells that were there. It's like you're back at the moment. So then it feels so real. How do you, make yourself realize that it's not real anymore, that it's over?
I did it through talking to myself. Like one of the biggest incidents I can remember or recall where I could see the difference, and I knew it was thought, but somehow I couldn't get out of the play for it. Almost like, you're in the dream and you know it's a dream and you're like, well, wait, I should just wake up, but I can't. Like I really could, I know I'm dreaming and I really wish I could wake up because this dream just sucks. You know, and it's like, wake up, you know. But I had a car accident and I didn't realize for quite a part of when the lights start flashing and the ambulance was there on scene and things like that, that I had forgot it was my car accident. I was in mode of training because car accidents and things like that are what I've responded to for 20 some years. And when I got the question that kind of made me go, wait, what's happening right now? I literally walked over to the ambulance and I kind of just put my hands on the truck. And I was just looking left and right at all of the lights. And I was like, I'm not in Iraq. Deep breath. I'm in downtown Los Angeles. Deep breath. I had a car accident. Deep breath. It was just slowing the shit down. Like, and then as I slowed it down, I start seeing the space in between it. Like, oh shit, that's a set. That's not real. I could see the cameraman behind that, right? Like, wait a minute. But if I speed it up without the breaths, I don't see the cameraman. I don't see the actress get a little bit more makeup. I don't see any of the characters that made it a scary movie because it's going so fast. It's kind of like The Magician. The sleight is already done before the magician starts to trick. You know, the hand has already tricked you before you start. So if you're thinking it's a magic trick because you're going to catch it while it's happening, you didn't already miss the game. Like, it's the same thing, right? When you slow it down, you start seeing, oh, he switched the cards. Oh, this. And it's like, it's not as scary. You do that more and more, then it runs its course and you may come up with something else to do. You may generate something else to do, but that was how I started. All right. And it's not a modality you got to kind of do or this. It just helped me. You could try it a few times. If it helps, work. If it does not help, drop it. Like, don't, it's like that said, that dude was full of shit and just drop it. Like, trust it, it's okay. Like, I won't be, and then send Karan an email and get in touch with me and I'll send you another thing I did. You know, like, again, I'm not saying it's a blue pill gonna take you and magically get over it, but it did work for me to slow it down because part of what I know about us human beings is we're okay handling one thing at a time. But trying to handle the whole movie in the first minute would be very difficult.
Thank you.
Yeah, actually, what I notice is that the more I try to fix, analyze, or change my thoughts, the more I resist them. And they never go away. They keep coming back and hurting me and haunting me again and again. But once I take it slowly, once I become more and more present to the moment, those thoughts start fading away. I grow higher in my levels of consciousness. It's like, let's say you are in an elevator, okay, a transparent elevator. On the first floor, all you can see is just the cars and the things around you. The higher you go, the more you can see. And when you reach the top building, you can see the whole city around. So the higher you go, the more you can see. The same thing is with your thoughts. When you're in lower level of consciousness, they hurt you and haunt you. When you go higher, you are totally aware of their thoughts. And when they come, they don't hurt you much. And in this level of consciousness, you have divine thoughts. Those old thoughts go away and new thoughts come, because the nature of thought is that it's changing and divine thoughts are always coming our way.
Yeah. I like that elevator analogy too, because if we think that it's the traumatic experience, so to speak, right? Like, but really what we're facing after we physically get out of danger is the attachment to what we think that traumatic experience means for us. So it's no longer the traumatic experience. The attachment now is, what does this say about me, who I am, my identity? And there's a whole bunch of things in there that come with it. Sometimes it comes with shame, guilt. Sometimes it comes with condemnation, grief, any of those things, right? But the part that I love pointing to is that before that, how you feel will dictate the way that story is told. Meaning, it's not so much that today I'm having a bad day because of my trauma, and today I had a good day with my trauma. It's, I thought about my trauma when I was having a bad day, meaning I was already in low mood. And I started thinking about my trauma. So that day it was shitty. I had a shitty experience with it. On a day I was in, like you said, high thoughts, high conscious level, whatever, I thought about my trauma, and it just wasn't that big of a deal that day. It's not the other way around, though, is what I like helping people see. Is, no, you thought about the trauma, one, because it's a memory, but how you are experiencing it today is telling you not about the trauma, it's telling you where your state of mind, which floor you were on the elevator when you started thinking about the trauma for the day. So, and if you know, oh shit, I'm thinking about penthouse, I want the penthouse, so I probably should just get on this elevator and ride up to the penthouse before I really want to deal with this, because I like that experience of it better. I absolutely love, and I don't think this will ever change. I love being able to sit in the comfort of my home studio right now and talk to you about being shot at. But I don't want to go get shot at to tell you I got shot at. Like, I don't want to go feel it again just for the purpose of needing to feel it again. Absolutely not. It's a difference. I'm sitting here safe telling you about it. It's not happening right now. I shouldn't feel that way either. Not because I should or shouldn't feel a certain way, just because it's actually not happening. It's actually not happening right.
Wow, beautiful. Great. Anybody else with any question? Okay, so I will ask you last question. That is, you seem to be a very happy person, always smiling, having this energy around you. So what's your secret? What makes you happy?
Oh man. This is gonna sound crazy, but I love the whole ride. Like, I'm okay with the ups and the downs. I'm just happy to be able to play, because that's the most that's important to me. So yes, I've had a lot of bad things happen, and I've had a lot of good things happen. I've been blessed beyond measure, and I've had adversity that most shouldn't face as a human being. But again, given that my eyes open in the morning and I still have that breath of life, I just get excited for that. The other part is I get excited to see others see this within themselves. Like, I just recently wrote a poem, which was the first time I ever wrote a poem too. Like, I'm 46 years old and I never wrote like a poem. You can tell it's roses are red, violets are blue. Like, you can tell that it's following the same format, all the way down the poem in a sense. But as a part in it that I say, acknowledge that I'm only smiling because the God in me can see the God in you. So that's why the smile happens is usually when I stand in front of another human being, that becomes apparent to me. And I don't know anything else to do at that moment. Like, even when I'm not trying to, I look at these kids who are in prison and will be there for the next 8 to 10 years, and all I could do is smile. I know their circumstance sucks to them right now, but I can smile because I could see the God in them. The God in me could see the God in them. That's what lights me up, man. That's what makes it easy. Like, again, I have days where I'm on the first floor. I have days on the first floor, but even on the first floor, the God in me sees the God in you. I may not do as many things on a day that I'm on the first floor, but I don't have moments where I'm still not smiling because I could see that in people. I may not do as many podcast interviews. I may not do as many coaching clients. I may just decide to walk and deal with the dogs for the day. I may just take a day off altogether. That's all that means. Not that I'm supposed to need to have a bad day or not still love the fact that I get a chance to live my life. That's not even up for grabs anymore. That's not even up for giving what I faced. I ain't even supposed to be here. Shit me? Like, I don't even supposed to be here. Like, I'm about to party. I'm playing with house money for the rest of my years, bro. Like, again, the narrative said I wouldn't make it past 18. I'm 46, bro. Like, what? I got grandkids. Like, man, ain't no reason I'm not excited about this ride, man. But again, that's not meaning death of family members don't hurt. That's not meaning that, financial problems don't happen within my business as well. They do. They do. I faced them too. I just faced them really in love with life, though. They scare me as they do. But I faced them from a loving life space.
Wonderful. All right. Anybody else with any comment or anything to add? All right, I guess that's all for today. Rob, those who want to follow you, where can they find you?
Oh, I would like to do a shame. It's not a shameless. It's a shame. It's a full of life plug. If he was, I'm gonna do a shameless plug. I want to do a full of life plug. Every Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific time frame, I host a support group called Life After Trauma Support Group. Its participation is totally free. You do not have to do anything but show up. And each week, the group it's not a collection of like a course or anything. The group just shows up and we check in and we decide that day what's our course of exploration around the topic of healing as we move past trauma. Very diverse group. People come share. It's a powerful space. And you can go to my website, imrobcook.com. You could click the link. It's like halfway down that talks about the group. Sign up. You'll get the meeting info. And it's been a joy. It's been an absolute pleasure to do that group. Actually, yeah, that's it. I won't even try to talk about the other services. That's the one I want most, is that support group. And you can find me at imrobcook.com. Again, that's imrobcook.com. Everything is there. Other resources, podcasts, things like that. But that's where you can find me.
All right. Thank you very much, Rob. I want to thank everyone for your beautiful presence, and it's been a great time, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Love y'all.
Love you all.
Love you, Carol.
Thanks.